Norwalk Publishing present Sweeping Clean by Keira Covert, narrated by David Payne. Chapter 1. The chairman, Colonel Douglas Hartley M.C., retired, was incandescent with rage. He was addressing a meeting of the governors of Rigby College, a small English public school located in the town of Market Ditchfield in rural Lincolnshire. In spite of the peculiar spelling of Ditchfield with the E before the I, the name was, nevertheless, pronounced Ditchfield. Just how this inversion of the two letters had come about was lost in the mists of time, for no one had any explanation for this anomaly. But to get back to the meeting, the reason why the colonel was in such a rage was that Rigby College was in an utter mess. In fact, it was in the process of slowly collapsing. Some 5 years previously, the then Board of Governors had allowed itself to be sold a bill of goods by a new, reforming headmaster, full of modern ideas, who after 5 years with his newfangled ideas had succeeded in reducing the school to a shadow of its former self. The problem had started in 1918, just after the Great War, in which several of the school's younger masters had lost their lives. The then headmaster, who had been overdue for retirement before the war in 1914, had soldiered on until the armistice in November 1918, and had then suddenly died, leaving the school not only bereft of many masters, but also of a leader. Finding themselves with a serious staffing problem and seduced by the ideas of a gentler, less rigorous, less formal and less structured approach to education of the sons of upper-class families who sent their offspring to such private boarding schools, the then Board of Governors had appointed this man, Dr. David Baldwin, to the post of headmaster. Dr. Baldwin had then gone on to recruit the urgently needed new staff, essentially men who agreed with his new style approach to education, to make up for the decimations of the war. This new team had then proceeded for a period of 5 years to run the school into the ground by practicing their new ideas. And it was this present state in which the school now found itself which had brought the chairman to the boiling point. It has to be said that Colonel Douglas Hartley M.C., retired, was a man whose temper had a very short fuse. He was a pompous, arrogant, belligerent, old-style soldier who acted as though he was still commanding a regiment and treated everyone around him as an underling. He rode roughshod over anybody and everybody, and his fellow governors, who were all men of a certain age, allowed themselves to be swept along by the colonel and his ideas. He ran the board meetings as if he were addressing a bunch of schoolboys, and his co-governors simply allowed him to do so. But to be fair to the man, on this occasion he had every reason to be angry. He had been called in as an outsider to replace the previous chairman of the board, who, when faced with the problems now confronting the school, had retired due to ill health. Colonel Hartley had accepted the post but a few months earlier, on the strict condition that he be given a free hand to correct any problems he found in his assessment of the school. His assessment now finished, he was making a formal presentation of his findings to his co-governors, several of whom were complicit in the decisions which had led to the present well-nigh catastrophic state in which the school now found itself. Several of the board members would frankly have preferred not to be present at this meeting. They sat there in complete silence.
Gentlemen, do you realize the parlous state into which this school has fallen thanks to 5 years of the totally misguided policies of the present headmaster, Mr. Baldwin, and I might add his acolytes, the 4 house-masters whom he appointed? Rigby is a relatively small school, but until the end of the war we had an academic record and reputation vying with the best, Eton, Winchester, Harrow or Rugby. Prorating our performance to our size, we were the equal of any of these major schools. We sent many of our boys to Oxford and Cambridge and made regular placements in the British Civil Service, in particular to the Foreign and Commonwealth Office. Several of our old boys have reached cabinet rank in the government, and I am proud to say that many old Rigbyans are in senior positions in the administrations of the possessions of the British Empire around the world. In a word, gentlemen, we had a reputation of which we could be justly proud.
Even as a newly appointed chairman, the colonel, as he spoke, already identified himself completely with the school and its pupils.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?